A billionaire's shocking response to a poor girl's plea to help her sick mom. Unbelievable! The crowd gasped as Marissa, her eyes shimmering like dewdrops on a spider's web, stepped forward. The chill of desperation hung thick in the air. She clutched a tattered notebook, each page dog-eared and stained, evidence of countless nights spent writing her mother's name over and over as if it were a lifeline. The renowned billionaire, Jack Preston, known for his cold, unyielding demeanor, had walked into the charity gala like a storm rolling over the ocean, and now all eyes were glued to him. What would he say? Marissa felt her heart hammer against her chest, each beat screaming for help, for hope. But then, as if the universe itself held its breath, a strange stillness descended. The chandeliers above twinkled like stars caught in a silence they didn't know how to break. The laughter, the clinking of glasses, they all faded into an eerie backdrop. Marissa's fingers trembled, brushing against the rough edges of her notebook. She could hardly believe she was standing in front of this titan of industry, a man whose wealth could rival nations. She opened her mouth but hesitated, fear gnawing at her resolve. Would he even listen? Jack's icy blue eyes scanned the crowd before landing on her. Whispers rippled through the guests. She should just go home, someone muttered. He doesn't owe her anything. It stung like a slap. Marissa swallowed hard, throat tightening, heart racing, chased by every insecurity she'd ever felt. But something flickered in Jack's expression. Curiosity? A hint of empathy? The thought sent a jolt through her veins. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack took a step toward her, and the air thickened with tension. Marissa held her breath. What would he say? Would he turn away, dismiss her plea like so many others? Or would this moment shift her fate forever? The glares of 100 spectators pierced through her like arrows, waiting for the drama to unfold. Time seemed to warp, elongating the moment into an eternity. As Jack opened his mouth, the lights flickered ominously, and a shiver crept down her spine. What was about to happen was beyond her wildest dreams or her deepest fears. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony that threatened to drown her voice. Every eye in the room was locked onto them. What would he decide? The breathless anticipation nearly choked her. The very essence of hope, fear, and uncertainty danced together, and as Jack's lips parted, the world held its breath, teetering on the edge of something monumental. What shocking truth would unfold next? Jack's voice sliced through the murmur like a knife. You're right, he said, his tone unexpectedly soft, eyes narrowing with scrutiny. I don't owe you anything. A wave of disappointment swept through Marissa, threatening to drown her. But then, in a surprising twist, he granted her the chance to speak. But let us hear what you have to say. The crowd fell silent. It felt as if the air had crystallized, suspended in anticipation. Marissa sensed each breath like a precious resource dwindling away. She gulped, mustering every ounce of courage she could gather. Please, my mother is sick, and I just need what? Jack interrupted, an edge creeping back into his voice, each word calculated, dissecting her vulnerability. Money? My charity can't save everyone. Crimson flooded Marissa's cheeks. The eyes of wealthy attendees bore down on her, their judgment palpable. No! She stumbled over her words, grasping for coherence. I only want a chance. She just needs a medication that costs a fortune, but we can still hope. Please, she inhaled deeply, desperation flooding her senses, heart pounding like 1,000 drums. Jack maintained his relentless gaze as if measuring the weight of her words against the fabric of his heart. Each second felt like an eternity, and Marissa wished she could peel back her layers of fear, expose the rawest parts of her soul. Every moment flaunted the brave facade she wore so carefully. The crowd began whispering again, voices dripping with skepticism. She'll never get it, one woman drawled. Why should he help a girl like her? As if struck by a bolt of fate, Jack stepped closer, narrowing the space between them. Marissa felt the electricity, the deafening yet gentle tension that wrapped around them. If I were to give you what you ask, what would you do in return? It was a paradox, a game loaded with stakes. Was this kindness or cruelty? Whatever it takes, she breathed, staring straight into his icy blue eyes. She felt raw and exposed, but she couldn't look away. Her heart begged the universe to let this moment change everything. I promise I'll work. I'll do anything. Just this one chance. A flicker of amusement crossed Jack's face, followed by a moment of indecision. The crowd responded with a collective murmur of disbelief, some squinting suspiciously, others looking on with growing intrigue. Had Marissa touched something in him? Or was she merely a fleeting distraction from his polished existence? Suddenly, the lights above flickered again, plunging the room into shadows before flicking back on. Jack's expression darkened, as if her words had stirred a tempest within him. Anything? He whispered, his voice low, almost conspiratorial, the challenge hanging between them like thick fog. Absolutely, she retorted, feeling wings sprout from her determination. But deep down, a gnawing uncertainty took hold. What would anything entail? What kind of deal was she making? Jack leaned in closer, a glint of cunning in his eyes. Then you better understand the cost. Marissa's heart raced. What lay ahead could change everything, but at what price? The atmosphere crackled with energy, the stakes rising higher than she ever imagined, and just as she braced herself for the response, the fire alarm blared, piercing through the tension, replacing the whisper of hope with shrieks of panic. Marissa's mind spiraled as chaos erupted, but her heart whispered a different truth. The answers she sought were just around the corner. Would they be revealed or swallowed by the storm? Marissa's heart plummeted as the fire alarm's shrill wail tore through the air like a jagged knife. People leaped to their feet, faces contorting with fear and confusion. The opulent room, once filled with polished conversations and glistening chandeliers, now echoed with chaos. Everyone, stay calm! A voice boomed from the back, but the crowd surged toward the exits, a sea of designer suits and sparkling gowns crashing like waves against the shore. Marissa's pulse raced, her instincts screaming at her to grab Jack and make a run for it. But he stood frozen, eyes locked onto hers, unblinking. In the midst of fleeing bodies, she saw the flicker of something like uncertainty in his eyes. For a moment, the world around them faded as she searched for a connection, a glimmer of hope in the maelstrom. Jack! We need to get out of here! She shouted over the uproar, her voice barely breaking through the din. But he didn't move, he seemed entranced, caught in some trap of his own making. Do you think this is real? He questioned suddenly, breaking her concentration. The intensity in his voice was sharper than the alarm. A distraction? An act? What? Her world narrowed to those two words, barely registering the chaos behind her. What are you talking about? His focus darted to the exits, as if he was scanning for something, someone. Marissa, they create noise. It keeps people from paying attention. The urgency of his tone sent chills spidering up her spine. Who? What do you know? Before he could respond, the lights flickered again, this time plunging the entire room into darkness. Marissa's breath caught in her throat, the clamor outside growing fainter as shadows danced around them. The only sound was the pounding of her heart against her ribcage. She fumbled for something, anything solid to hold onto, and then, like a spear in the night, a spotlight flared back on, illuminating Jack's face, driven and desperate. You need to trust me, he insisted, stepping closer, so their faces were mere inches apart. I can help you. But we need to wait for the right moment. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. What do you mean, the right moment? My mother, I know, he cut her off, the flicker of empathy crossing his icy facade. But trust isn't given away easily, it's earned. Just keep your head about you. A flicker of movement in the audience snatched her attention. A woman, dressed in an elegant black gown, narrowed her eyes at them from the back of the room. Marissa's stomach twisted. The woman was known in high society for her connections to powerful figures who could make or break lives with a single word. Who is she? Marissa whispered, panic creeping into her voice. Jack's expression hardened. Don't look at her. If she knows what we're talking about. Before he could finish, the lights flickered again, illuminating a small group of men in dark suits making their way through the exits. Marissa's heart raced. They were moving toward her, fast and deliberate. We can't stay here, she gasped, fear clenching her throat. Jack, we have to go. Now. Jack's eyes burned with determination. Fine. But you need to do exactly as I say. No questions. Do you understand? Marissa nodded, adrenaline surging through her veins. She felt the ground precariously shift under her, the choice ahead spinning out of her control. As they turned to bolt through the crowd, whispers and glances turned into furtive stares, eyes following them like a hawk targets its prey. Each footfall sent a jolt of apprehension shooting through her. What had she signed up for? The silence in the midst of the chaos felt heavy, like a storm waiting to break. And just as they reached the grand exit, the fire alarm stopped. An unsettling hush fell over the room. The crowd froze. Jack stopped, spinning around to face Marissa, his voice barely above a whisper. This was just the beginning. What happens next will change everything. Marissa's heart thundered, her instincts screaming, but now it was too late. What had she gotten herself into? And without another word they ran, the weight of uncertainty trailing just behind them. Marissa's feet pounded against the cold marble floor as they sprinted through the grand hallway, dodging panicked guests surging toward the exits. Jack's hand gripped her wrist, anchoring her, urging her to keep pace. The plush carpets muffled their steps, but the air was thick with urgency, sending adrenaline rushing through her veins. Where do we go? She gasped, glancing behind them to see shadows loom in the blinding light of the emergency exit. The woman in the black gown had vanished, but the sense of danger lingered, suffocating. Just keep moving, Jack shouted, his eyes scanning their surroundings, searching for an escape route. They veered into a narrow corridor lined with gilded frames displaying portraits of long-forgotten elite. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Marissa's voice cracked. This was a labyrinth of luxury, yet it felt like a trap. Just beyond the polished surfaces, she sensed something dark and sinister, lurking and waiting. I wouldn't let anything happen to you, Jack assured her, though his face was taut. The words barely calmed her racing heart. Trust me. Trust seemed a fragile thing now, suspended over a pit of uncertainty. She felt torn between the safety her mother needed and the growing suspicion that Jack might be leading her deeper into danger. They turned a corner, and he suddenly halted. Here, he said, pushing against a door adorned with intricate carvings. It opened to reveal a stairwell descending into shadow. Marissa hesitated. What if there are more of them down there? We need to buy time. Get away from the crowd. It's our best shot. She glanced back, hearing the muffled chaos of the party still unfolding. Somewhere amidst that cacophony lay the truth she desperately wanted to ignore. Behind her mother's hospital bed rested the ticking clock of fate, and each second felt louder than the last. As they descended into the inky darkness, Marissa's heart sank. The ambient light from above dimmed to a whisper, and the damp air clung to her skin, thick and heavy. Jack pressed forward, a guiding shadow in front of her. Do you have a plan? She asked, desperation tinging her voice as they reached the bottom. Jack took a moment before he answered, his expression fierce. I'm trying to connect a few pieces, but I need more time. That woman in the black dress, she's part of it. Part of what? Part of something I've been tracking. Something dangerous that could threaten everyone here and especially you. Fear washed over her. Me? Why me? Because your mother's involvement. Jack hesitated, his eyes darting around the dim corridor. It runs deeper than you know. This isn't just an accident. Suddenly, a door swung open at the far end of the corridor, spilling light across the stairwell. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the brightness. Marissa's breath caught in her throat. Jack! She whispered urgently, but before she could pull him away, the figure stepped into the light, revealing the very woman in black. Looking for something? she purred, her smile a mask of sophistication that did nothing to mask the danger lurking beneath. Jack stepped back instinctively, shielding Marissa. What do you want? Oh, sweetheart, the woman crooned, her voice dripping with a cold, calculated charm. I'm just here to make sure this little game doesn't get too messy. Marissa's skin prickled. She had to act fast. Jack, we need to, but before she could finish, the woman raised a delicate finger, silencing her. I think we should take a moment to discuss your situation, don't you? It's not every day a simple girl like you gets wrapped up with people she doesn't understand. What have you done? Marissa felt the rise of panic. She had to break free. Why, darling, it's just business. But now you're in the way. Jack's tension made the air electric. Get away from her. And that's when Marissa felt a jolt of urgency that told her a choice lay before her, charging the atmosphere as shadows shifted and fate hung in the balance. What kind of game had she unknowingly stepped into, and did she dare push back? As the woman stepped closer, her smile widening, it dawned on Marissa, this was only the beginning of whatever twisted plot had entangled her mother's life with these ruthless players. With a jolt, she realized she had to make a choice. Was she truly ready to confront what lay ahead? And just then, the fire alarm's shriek echoed eerily in her mind, drowning her thoughts. Was it a warning, or a ruse? In that moment, Marissa's determination solidified, and she prepared to fight. What would happen next? Would she find the strength to uncover the truth, or would the web of deception ensnare her completely? Marissa's heart raced like a wild drum in her chest as the woman in black stepped closer. The shimmer of her gown glinted under the flickering overhead lights, casting an eerie glow. The shadows danced, shrouding the corridor in a veil of uncertainty, and panic surged through Marissa like fire. Jack, we can't just stand here, she urged, but as the words escaped her lips, the woman's laugh echoed down the hall, chilling her to the bone. Oh, sweet girl, the woman said, her voice smooth yet sharp. You really have no idea what's at stake, do you? Jack stepped in front of Marissa, his eyes fierce. Get away from her. We won't let you manipulate her. The woman's smile faded, and a glimmer of anger flickered in her eyes. Manipulate? Oh, darling, I haven't even scratched the surface. But you'll wish I had. This isn't a game for little girls. Marissa's mind raced. She wasn't a pawn in anyone's game. Desperation clawed at her. You think I just stand by while my mother's life is in danger? What do you have on her? More than you could ever imagine, the woman replied, her voice lowering to an almost conspiratorial hum. She tilted her head slightly, studying Marissa. And the truth, my dear, has a way of revealing itself. Especially when it involves loved ones. Just as panic began to wrap its fingers around Marissa's throat, the telltale sound of a distant siren filled the air. She felt the vibrations in her bones, the chaos outside now pouring in. Someone was coming. Hope crept in, an opportunity to escape. Jack. We have to go now, she urged, tugging at his arm. The weight of the woman's gaze bore down on her, piercing like needles. No one will save you, believe me, the woman said, pressing forward, her heels clicking mockingly against the floor. And you certainly don't want your mother involved in this mess. So many lives hang in the balance. Marissa swallowed hard. But what do you want from me? A mere whisper in the right ear could solve your problems, Marissa. You just need to understand where you fit in. The woman's eyes glinted, each word dripping with sinister allure. Join me. Help further the real goals, save your mother, and much more. Join you? Why would I ever trust you? Marissa's resolve strengthened. How could she even think of siding with this woman? Jack pushed Marissa behind him, his stance defensive. We aren't interested in your game. With a flick of her wrist, the woman dismissed him. Don't be naive. Your stands of virtue don't matter in a world like this. This isn't just any party. It's a power play, and your family is right in the middle of it. The words hung heavy in the air, twisting like smoke. Marissa's head spun. Her mother wasn't just another victim. She was entangled in something massive, something dangerous. Whatever you're involved in, I want to be a part of it," she shouted, newfound courage surging through her veins. The sirens grew louder, almost drowning out her voice. The woman chuckled softly, a sound that sent chills racing down Marissa's spine. "You don't get to decide that. Not now. You'll come to me when the time is right." Suddenly, the door behind them swung open, and another figure joined the light, a man dressed sharply, his expression unreadable. "What is happening here?" the newcomer asked, scanning the tension in the air. Marissa felt the earth shake beneath her feet as she glanced between Jack and the woman. "Run!" Jack shouted, dragging her toward the opposite door, but Marissa couldn't shake the feeling that the game was far from over. They fled into another hallway, the sirens blaring in unison with her heartbeat. Images flashed in her mind: the woman's disquieting grin, her mother's frailty, the darkness that loomed ahead. And in that moment, the chaotic tangle of thoughts coalesced into one biting truth: she was deeper in this than she ever realized. But escape was only temporary. As they rushed forward, Marissa knew they hadn't seen the last of the woman in black. Whatever webs of conspiracy and manipulation were closing in on her family, she had to be ready. How far would she go to uncover the truth? The answer loomed just ahead, and with each hurried step, she felt the pulse of fate quickening as the shadows of danger closed in. Adrenaline surged through Marissa as she and Jack darted down the dimly lit corridor, their footsteps echoing against the concrete walls. The distant sirens grew louder, morphing into a thunderous roar that seemed to amplify the fear coursing through her veins. "Where do we go?" she gasped, glancing back to see if the woman in black was pursuing them. Jack's grip on her hand tightened. "We need to find an exit. Trust me." His voice was steady, but she could see the flicker of worry in his eyes. Images of the mysterious woman and her chilling words haunted Marissa's thoughts. Her mother's life was hanging in the balance, and she felt the weight of that truth heavy on her shoulders. If they kept running, would they escape whatever dark fate awaited them? Or were they merely delaying the inevitable? As they rushed through the maze of halls, Jack suddenly stopped. "Wait. We need to be quiet." He pressed his back against the wall, peering around the corner. Marissa held her breath, heart hammering loudly in her chest. "Do you see something?" she whispered, leaning closer to him. He shook his head slowly. "No, but I heard something. We need to move carefully." Just then, a crash resounded behind them. Marissa's throat tightened as fear, raw and suffocating, threatened to choke her. What had they stumbled into? "Back this way," Jack said, pulling her away from the sound, leading them further into the depths of the building. The atmosphere felt thick with tension, like the air before a storm. Marissa's mind raced. What did the woman want from her? What dark tapestry was her family ensnared within? The questions plagued her like shadows, swirling around her head and threatening to consume her entirely. They emerged into a wide-open room with industrial lights humming above. A large window on the far side revealed the chaos outside: the flashing lights of police cars and the flicker of different-colored emergency beacons. People were gathering, some shouting as they pointed toward the building. The sight both terrified and grounded her. They weren't alone. Maybe help was out there, but would they reach it in time? "Let us head for that window," Jack urged, eyeing the glass. The two raced toward it, but just before they reached safety, another noise broke through the tense silence: a low, menacing laugh that resonated behind them. Marissa turned just in time to see the woman in black step into the light, her eyes gleaming with mischievous delight. "You think you can escape so easily?" she taunted, her smirk deepening. "This is just the beginning, my dear." Jack moved to shield Marissa, but the woman merely waved her hand dismissively. "You see, the truth isn't something you can run from. It'll find you, and then what will you do?" Her words were suffocating, hanging in the air like smoke. The possibility of what lay ahead curled around Marissa's mind: a web of deceit, power plays, and danger. Could she expose the secrets that ensnared her family? "Stay behind me," Jack hissed, but the tension surged sharply as Marissa felt a gut-wrenching decision looming over her. Would she confront the woman, risking everything, or would she silence her own voice to protect those she loved? "Enough," she shouted, stepping out from behind Jack, eyes blazing with defiance. Tell me what you want and let my mother go. For a fraction of a moment, the woman's expression softened. Now we're getting somewhere, she said, leaning forward slightly, her smile now a mere hint. But before we continue this conversation, I think you'll need a little more motivation. Marissa's stomach dropped. Motivation? What was the woman planning? The answer scattered like leaves in the wind, lost in the tension that surrounded them, and then it hit her there was another figure lurking in the shadows behind the woman. Marissa's pulse quickened. Would this new player tip the scales, or was it yet another layer of manipulation in this strange and escalating game? As they stood on the brink of revelation, uncertainty loomed, and the shadows crept closer. What new danger awaited them, hidden just behind the veil? Marissa's heart raced as she squinted into the shadows, her mind racing with questions. The presence lurking there sent a chill through her spine. Who else was entwined in this mess? Jack remained tense beside her, muscles visibly coiling as if ready to spring into action. The woman's laughter hung in the air, sharp and inviting like a snake enticing its prey. I suggest you don't waste time questioning your choices, she cooed. The longer you delay, the more fun we'll have. Fun? Marissa spat, anger mixing with fear. What kind of sick game are you playing? The woman stepped back, inviting the figure behind her to step forward. As he emerged from the shadows, Marissa's breath caught in her throat. It was a man, tall and imposing, with cold, calculating eyes that seemed to absorb everything. He wore a suit that screamed power, a stark contrast to the chaos enveloping them. This is Sebastian, the woman said, her voice oozing delight. He's the one who'll help you, or not. Sebastian tilted his head, considering their predicament with a predatory gaze. You're in a precarious situation, Marissa. I understand you're here to save your mother. But what are you willing to sacrifice? That's the real question. It felt like a knife twisting deeper into her chest. What do you want from me? She demanded, her voice shaking but resolute. Everything has a price, Sebastian replied coolly. Your mother's life could be saved, if you're willing to play by our rules. What rules? Jack interjected, his tone protective. You don't get to decide her fate. The woman laughed again, a sound devoid of empathy. Sweet boy, you're out of your depth. You think you can bark orders at the wolf in sheep's clothing? You have no idea what game you've entered. Marissa squeezed Jack's hand, searching for strength. She could feel the warm sweat on her palm, the taste of panic flooding her senses. Get to the point, she said defiantly. What do you want me to do? Sebastian took a step closer, the confidence radiating off him like heat from a flame. Help us with something. A small task. In return, your mother's freedom. What kind of task? He paused, letting the tension mount. You're familiar with the family you come from, I assume. The secrets, the connections. We need you to use that knowledge to our advantage. Once you're inside, we'll have all we need. Marissa glanced at Jack, the urgency blurred with uncertainty. You want me to play spy? Not just any spy, Sebastian said, smile growing. An essential player in a much larger game. The room felt charged, and her gut twisted. Everything around her screamed danger. Was saving her mother worth risking her own life and integrity? Marissa, don't do this, Jack said, fear threading through his tone. We can find another way. But the glimmer of hope that had sparked when she saw the police outside was fading fast. In front of her stood a dilemma that tugged painfully at her heart. Consider your mother's health, the woman urged, her voice smoothing like silk. Time is of the essence. Every passing second could be a step toward freedom or something much worse. Marissa's mind spiraled, trapped between loyalty to her family and the instinct to protect herself and Jack. No, she said slowly, heart pounding, yet the shadows of suspicion and desperation surged around her. What if I refuse? Sebastian smiled, and it felt like the warmth of a sun that hides behind storm clouds. Oh, my dear, refusing isn't an option. As the reality of her choices dawned on her, the weight of their implications pressed deeper. Just as she thought she could push back, A piercing scream shattered the tense air, so raw, so chilling, that her blood ran cold. "It's your mother," Jack breathed, fear flooding his eyes. Marissa's stomach curled painfully. The balance was tipping, they needed to act fast. What if the truth was worse than the lies they defaced? And then, with time ticking away, Marissa took a step back, feeling the pull of desperation harden her resolve. "Tell me what I need to do." The room tightened around her like a noose poised on the edge of a heartbreaking decision that would change everything. Would she take the plunge into darkness to save her mother or plunge them all into despair? And then there was the distant sound of sirens growing ever closer. Would they bring salvation, or doom? Marissa's heart hammered in her chest as she looked from Jack to Sebastian, feeling the weight of the moment suffocate her. A small task? It felt like a cruel joke, but her mother's scream echoed in her ears, each note a weighty reminder of the urgency. "What do you need me to do?" she whispered, her voice shaking under the strain of her decision. The shadows around them seemed to pulse as if they had a life of their own, ready to envelop her in darkness. Sebastian's smile widened, revealing teeth like daggers, glinting in the low light. "Simple. There's a gala in a few days, a gathering of influential people. Your family's name will open doors. We need you to get close to a certain guest, a man named Victor Ashford." "Why him?" Marissa asked, challenging him with her gaze. "Because he holds information that could alter everything." "We need to know what he is planning," Sebastian replied, his tone colder than the room around them. Jack stepped forward, fists clenched. "And what if she refuses? What will you do then?" Marissa's stomach twisted at the threat hidden behind Jack's bravado. "No, Jack, let him speak," she said, not wanting to anger Sebastian further. The man before her was dangerous, and any misstep could spell disaster for her mother. Sebastian chuckled softly, leaning in closer, his breath like ice against her skin. "For every action, there's a consequence. A refusal means more than just turning us away. It could cost your mother dearly." "Stop," Jack interjected, panic creeping into his voice. "This is sick. You can't treat her like this." "Can't I?" The woman chimed in, her eyes glistening with amusement. "What you're witnessing is merely the chain of choices." "And Marissa?" "She has just one link. If this link breaks, the chain snaps, and chaos ensues." A shiver rushed down Marissa's spine. So much at stake, and here she was, teetering on the brink of a decision that could compromise everything she stood for. But her mother's safety outweighed her hesitation, didn't it? "Okay," she said, both fear and determination swirling within her. "I'll do it. I'll go to the gala." Sebastian studied her, evaluating every fraction of emotion that crossed her face. "Excellent choice. You'll be secured a comfortable seat among the guests. Just be charming, and before you know it, you'll have your mother safely back in your arms." "Charming?" Marissa scoffed, the taste of bitterness thick on her tongue. "You think that's all it takes? And if I can't get to him? What then?" His smile turned predator-like. "You will. You'll find a way. But know this, time is against you. The longer you stall, the worse things become for your dear mother." Jack's hand tightened around hers, grounding her. "We can't trust them. We need to come up with a plan." Marissa knew he was right, but every second felt like a dagger to her heart. The urgency twisted cruelly in her chest, a painful reminder of the stakes. The sound of sirens grew closer, a wailing anthem of her racing thoughts. Would the police discover what was truly happening here? Could they save her? Then it settled. Sebastian stepped back, straightening his jacket as if sealing their fate. "Tomorrow at noon you'll receive more instructions. Just remember, Marissa, loyalty is key." Loyalty. The word was heavy, and it wrapped around her like a shroud. The line between right and wrong blurred before her eyes. She was willingly walking into danger, but would it save her mother? Jack's face was filled with worry, yet it was determined as he whispered softly, "We'll figure this out together. No matter what happens." Marissa nodded, but inside, a gnawing dread had taken root. She was about to plunge deep into a world of deception and betrayal, And who knew where it would lead? As the laughter of the woman danced unnervingly in her ears, Marissa felt dread settle in her gut. Could she really trust herself to navigate this twisted game? And just then, another scream echoed through the building, not her mother's, but a stranger's. A harbinger of the chaos that was about to unfold. Marissa's breath quickened. What had she gotten herself into? Would she uncover the truth or find herself ensnared in an inescapable web of lies? The morning sun crept through Marissa's window, painting her room in stripes of gold and shadow. The bright light was a stark contrast to the storm swirling in her mind. She could hear the distant hum of traffic, normality counterpointing the chaos she was about to dive into. Jack was already awake, pacing the floor like a trapped animal. His hands gripped the back of his neck as he muttered under his breath. We can't just walk into this blindly, Marissa. There has to be another way, a better way. But what choice do I have? Marissa shot back, frustration tinged with fear lacing her words. Every second counts for my mom. I can't risk her life for uncertainty. Jack froze, meeting her gaze. And what if you're caught? What if they don't let you walk away unscathed? She felt the pulse of dread tighten around her heart, and the weight of his words crashed over her like a tidal wave. I know. But I have to try. Silence hung between them, thick and heavy, as the clock ticked in the background. Time was not on their side. Okay, Jack said finally, his voice softer. Let us make a plan. We can't let them use you like a pawn. Marissa nodded, grateful for his support. They needed a strategy. Something to keep her mother safe while navigating this dangerous game. A prompt knock on the door startled her. Before she could answer, it swung open to reveal one of Sebastian's men, the dark-haired one with a permanent semblance of disdain. His presence alone sent chills racing down her spine. Come with me, he said, his tone icy. It's time for your instructions. Without waiting for a reply, he turned on his heel and strode down the hallway. Marissa exchanged a glance with Jack, uncertainty pulsing between them, and took a deep breath before following. The man led her to a dimly lit room where Sebastian sat behind an enormous desk, a twisted grin playing on his lips. The shadows danced, creating an atmosphere of suffocation. Welcome, Marissa, Sebastian greeted with a mockingly warm tone. His smile seemed to grow as she entered. The gala is approaching fast, and there's much to discuss. What do I need to know? She asked, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. Victor Ashford is a creature of habit, he began, his voice smooth and calm. You'll want to approach him at his table. He enjoys charms and wit, but be careful. His eyes are sharp and may pierce through a charade. Marissa swallowed hard, the gravity of the task weighing heavier than lead. What if I say the wrong thing? Then your mother suffers. It's simple, Sebastian replied, the smile now gone, replaced by a hawkish glare. Remember, you have to act fast. The timing of the gala is critical. An ice-cold wave of fear crashed into her. You need to answer one thing for me. How can I trust that you're not manipulating this situation? Sebastian leaned in closer, and she could feel the chill of his breath. Let us say, your faith will be rewarded when you have your mother returned to you. But if we sense any betrayal, we have our ways. Marissa felt her heart drop. He was dangling her mother's life like a noose around her neck, and she was trapped in a game where the rules were twisted and cruel. Turning slightly, she spotted Jack lingering outside the door, worry etched into his features. Time is of the essence, Sebastian snapped sharply, his annoyance evident. You can leave now. But remember, charm is key. As Marissa stepped out into the hallway, anxiety raced through her veins. She didn't know how she would play this role, or if she would even survive the night. Jack met her with a sense of urgency and anger mixed in his expression. You don't have to do this. We can find another way. Gazing up at him, fear and determination flickered in her eyes. There is no other way. They would never let her go. Jack ran a hand through his hair, desperation evident in his movements. You can't go in unprepared, Marissa. There must be something we can suddenly. A sound echoed through the corridor. A loud crash followed by hurried footsteps abruptly intensified the tension. Marissa's heart raced. What was that? She whispered, her stomach knotting with panic. Jack's face lost all color as he turned to her, his eyes wide. We need to go. Now. The stakes had risen, and the chaos that surrounded them was a prelude to something much darker. What dangers lurked in the shadows, and would they be strong enough to outlast the mounting terror? Marissa grabbed Jack's hand, and together they ran down the hall, urgency driving them forward. But how far could they escape before the truth caught up with them? Marissa sprinted alongside Jack, the knowledge of her mother's peril thundering in her heart like an urgent drumbeat. The echoing crash from moments earlier still resonated in her ears, amplifying the fear that clutched at her throat as they dashed down the corridor. She stole glances over her shoulder, half expecting the woman in black to emerge from the shadows, a puppet master waiting to pull strings. Where do we go now? She gasped, desperation lacing her words. Follow me. I have an escape route in mind, Jack urged, his grip tightening around her hand. The glimmer of lights ahead began to guide them like a beacon of hope, but the shadows seemed to stretch and flicker, swirling ominously around them. Suddenly, the hallway twisted sharply, leading them into a dimly lit back room cluttered with crates and old decorations. The air hung heavy with dust and the scent of forgotten memories. Jack slammed the door shut behind them, locking it just in time as footsteps thudded against the floor outside. What do we do now? Marissa whispered harshly, their eyes locked in a shared understanding of the peril circling them. Jack's eyes sparkled with a fierce determination that steadied her racing heart. We wait, he said, his voice steady. We need to stall and think this through. You know the plan. When we go to that gala, you're not just there to distract Victor, you're the key element that can break this thing wide open. I'm terrified, Jack, she confessed, squeezing her eyes shut for a moment. What if I fail? He brushed her hair away from her face and stared deep into her eyes. You won't fail. You're stronger than you realize. And if it means keeping your mom safe, you'll fight with everything you have, right? His words ignited a flicker of resolve within her. The night was ripe with uncertainty, shadows lurking at every corner, but she would not waver. Not now, not when lives were at stake. Right. I'll do whatever it takes. Before any further plans could form, an iridescent light flickered through a small window from the corridor outside, casting patterned shadows on the wall. Marissa and Jack exchanged bewildered stares. She heard faint voices through the door, laughter mixed with tension that wrapped around them like a noose. We can't stay here long. They'll figure out we're gone, Jack warned, but his gaze flickered back toward her, the strength in his eyes a painful reminder of the risk ahead. Okay, she nodded, wiping her palms on the fabric of her jeans. Let us make a break for it. As they carefully opened the door and crept into the hallway, Marissa felt the thrill of the chase coursing through her, but it was tempered with that unshakable fear, the dread of what lay ahead. They navigated the twists and turns of the grand estate, hastily moving past rooms filled with idyllic paintings and relics, the elegance now a stark contrast to the violent tension blooming within her. Just when they reached another staircase leading down towards the main entrance, a loud voice echoed from the balcony above. Marissa! Jack! It was the woman in black, her presence a chilling reminder of the dangers that stalked them like a predator. I suggest you come out and face your fate. You're only prolonging the inevitable. Marissa and Jack froze, the woman's laughter trailing off into the haunting silence that enveloped the hall. They exchanged wide-eyed glances brimming with panic. We can't let her corner us, Jack insisted, pushing Marissa forward. We have to act now. They dashed down the stairs, determination fueling their strides as they raced toward the grand entrance. Freedom lay ahead, but the tension in the air felt like a loaded gun. Just as they approached the exit, the fire alarm blared again, and lights flickered ominously, plunging everything into chaos. Go! Get outside! Jack shouted, urgency lacing each word as he thrust the door open hard enough to slam against the side of the frame. Once outside, fresh air swirled around them, a taste of freedom mingled with the electric charge of confusion that rang in the atmosphere. Police cars lined the street, lights spinning wildly, casting a hallucinatory glow over the manicured lawn. "We need to find help," Marissa shouted, her heart pounding in her chest. But Jack had other ideas. "No! We'd be sitting ducks if that woman knows where we are. We need to keep moving." Outmaneuvering the show of authority, they sprinted across the road, ducking behind a tall hedge that shielded them from the prying eyes of the gala crowd now pouring out into the night, gripped by confusion and fear. "Why weren't the police helping inside?" Marissa asked, glancing back towards the building now swallowed in a sea of chaos. "They should be stopping her." "I don't know," Jack breathed, pulling her against the bushes. "But we can't rely on them. They're too deep in whatever game this is." They stole glances to catch the snippets of chaos unraveling behind them. The woman in black whispered to a group of men in suits, her face a mask of sinister crafty delight, her gaze flickering in their direction. "Marissa, we can't give up," Jack reminded her softly, voice steady and low, forcing her focus back on him. "You still have a chance to save your mother. Let us get to that gala. We'll find a way." "And if it backfires?" Marissa answered, the fear gnawing at her. "What if I'm trapped in their games?" "Then we fight," he responded, determination mingled with a flicker of fear. "Together." With a deep breath, Marissa nodded, resolve building within her chest like a fire. Even amidst despair, she was not alone. This was her fight, her reckoning, and she would hold the key to her family's fate. "Let us go," she whispered, wool gathering around them like armor. They merged into the shadows, hearts pounding with urgency, ready to confront the inevitable. As they leaped back into the fray, the night pulsed with a sense of both hope and danger, but deep down, she felt it. It was a moment that could change everything. This was her chance, her last chance to rewrite the ending. And the game was only just beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive twist. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.